All right, so let's go ahead and create a player class. I'm going to go over here to a new file. This will be a Swift file. Click on Next. And we're just going to call this player. And once that appears, all right, so this is going to be a subclass of a SKSpriteNode. One of the first things we want to do, though, is put in here import SpriteKit. And then class, this will be player, there, if I could spell, player, and this will be SKSpriteNode. All right. Now, what we'll do is we'll return this as one of the first initial things that we'll, output over here into our view with an anchor, but then obviously, going forward, we'll put in there enemies or whatever it is and stuff like that, or just basic building blocks for the game. So let's go ahead and get rid of that junk right there. And what we could do is put in here something like if, let's go over here to our helpers. Let's do how about setup state, something like that. Basically what I want to do is kind of define some setup parameters or variables. I'll call this setup state int. Here, bear with me for a minute. Case, how about add player? Okay. And then equals add player. I guess we could just, for good measure, also put in here a none state, right? Okay, so this is just going to be an enum type. Basically, it's we're just kind of using these for. We're not going to really ever get the int value out of them. Just kind of defining what the state of the game is at different times. So we might say add player, add enemy, whatever, and then do different things in our view controller based on that. So just for right now, obviously one of the first things we'll do is add a player. So we'll put that in here. So we're going to say if helpers dot setup state equals dot add player. Then we're going to do, something over here and return whatever that thing is, right? And because we basically have to return something other, we're going to probably have to do something like this, where, let's say, okay, stop complaining about that. Here, down here we'll just say let some node be SK node. This is really kind of not where I wanted to go with this, but it's all right. I don't even know if that does much right there. And then and right here, here's where we'll make our player, right? So we'll say let some player. This is going to be player. Okay, so there's our class right over there. And then we can put in your player, right? And now, because this is a subclass of SKSpriteNode, as soon as you put a parentheses in there, you can go through all of your normal ways of initializing any old SKSpriteNode, right? So image named is what we'd want to use if we had an image in the asset catalog, which we should in just a moment. So I'm going to just go ahead and put in here, I don't know, I've got an ape character we can use. So we'll throw that in and then pop that into there. We should stop seeing the complaints about it. Obviously, we haven't done much to set up the player, right? But it is an SKSpriteNode, so just putting in an image should make it so that if we do have an ape, it is visible into the scene. And I got tons of game art that you subscribers can use. Let's take a look. These guys here are just the tip of the iceberg. I think we've got 200 or 300 different characters. Oh, so many levels. Look at all these characters over here. All of them fully animated. And as a yearly Cartoon Smart subscriber, you can download any of them. I guess I'm going to pick on this little ape guy. So let me go download him, and then I'm going to bring some of those assets into the file. Okay, so I'm going to go over here to the assets catalog. This guy's living right here on my desktop, so I'm just going to drop him in. You can see I did give him the @2x extension in his name. Here, let me get this out of the way. There he goes. So it's ape @2x.png, and you can see that just by doing that, it puts it into the 2x slot. It's a little bit questionable that with this new world of AR, how big our files should be, because people can kind of zoom into them based on where they are, navigating around the stuff. So your guess is as good as mine. All right, so now that I've got that ape in there, all right, so we got the image. Feels like there should be something else, but you know what? Let's go ahead and just write a function here, set up, and let's just print this out. Print ape created. How about that? Okay, and then back over to here, what we'll do is before we actually return this out, we'll say some player.setup just to kind of prove that that runs. Yeah, all right, let's give it a shot. Okay, so I'm going to just tap down, and there might be a slight delay since this is coming from my iPad Pro. It looks like iShowU is having a little bit of trouble catching up. Okay, all right, well, a little blurry, but there he is. The guy's in there. And yeah, he's probably a little bit too big. Yeah, that's annoying. Just the fact that it's so blurry over there. Sorry, guys. But and then obviously, I can go over here and I can put another one in, and it'll show up top somewhere over there. Yep, there it is. All right, so we'll try to work on the screen capture stuff, but at least we know that he's going in there okay. And then what we should consider is, the size is a bit much. Now we could go over here to our game scene. And let's go ahead and get rid of that. All right, so we could change different values at different times here. So for example, we might want to say if helpers dot setup state equals dot create player, and I'm sorry, add player. There we go. Then we might want to make the translation a little bit different, right? So we could say, and this is going to be a float value if I remember right. If you want to check that, you could always just go in here and write .z. See, it says float byte. Okay, perfect. So this will be, let's put in here z distance. We'll say var z distance. It's going to be a float type. This is going to equal. Let's give it a default. These should always be, well, generally speaking, you want these to be negative, which is going to put it in front of the camera. But you can put in here positive values as well. And if you want something to be kind of mysteriously behind the user, and prompt them that, hey, you should look back. There's more to the level back there. You can do stuff like that. So anyway, we could just to kind of prove that we can just change this whenever we want. So we could put in here -1 based on what's going on with this stuff, right? So it was never mutated. It was 2. All right. So that would change the distance. And all right, back over here to our player. We did see that ape created got called. So there's our setup. So inside of here, we could put in, we can start adding physics and stuff like that. And there we go. So another thing that I struggled with early on is moving stuff around, and I'll give you a little demo of that. Don't worry, the code that we write here won't go to waste. Let's just put in here, let's move up. This will be an SK action. So it's going to equal SK action. This will be move, dot. Let's just use move by, and we'll just put in here a quick little vector, dx0, dy. So we'll just move this guy up 100. And, these move actions always look much better if you put in here the timing mode to put it here, ease in, ease out, whatever ease out I kind of prefer. Let's go ahead and just copy this. So this will be moved down, put in here -100, and then put in here move down. Let's group. Oh, I'm sorry, not group. Sequence. So let's put in there we go. SK action. Dot sequence. There we go. Yeah, so we're going to do our move up first, then move down. And we'll want this guy to repeat forever. Okay. Now watch what doesn't happen when we put in here repeat forever. Okay, well, again, the screen capture is not that perfect, but they're not moving, okay? Actually, you might see them kind of budge a little bit. And some of that's just my hand wavering around. All right, and here's what you get. This time I'm now taking a video of my phone, sending the video to my computer. So you get that nicer quality picture of what is not actually happening, what you think would happen. And if you paid close attention to the WWDC videos about SpriteKit, they actually mentioned this is exactly what will happen. Basically our player, a node is going to stay fixed onto that anchor, and it's just going to stick there. Okay, it's not going anywhere. Even if you put in some actions like this, what you're going to have to do is put a node inside of this and then move that around. So what we would do is say something like var sprite. Actually, let's call it something a little bit more specific. Player sprite. Okay, so now this is going to be another SKSpriteNode, and this is going to equal SKSpriteNode. We'll kind of commit it to being something, okay? We could go in here and put in here optional, but it's most likely your player sprite's always going to be the game, so we'll give it a value in just a moment. And then what we could do is we could say setup with name strings. We could put the name in there then. And by the way, this little with part gets ignored. So then what we'll do is we'll say player sprite is going to equal SKSpriteNode, and then for the image named, that is then going to be our name, and then we would just change this to player sprite.run, repeat forever, and then we would need to go back over here to our view controller, and for this, what we could just do is say player, and we can initialize this with just a clear color, so we can put in here skcolor.clear. And I'm pretty sure we can put in here a CG size of nothing at all. So just put in here CG size 0. And again, all right, so we've got setup. Now we need to put in here, and if you just start typing it, it should give you the, oh, you know what? Go ahead and save this file, okay? And then when you begin typing it, yep, with, and then you just put in here, again, the ape, right? Now, if I go and do all the same steps I did a moment ago to record the darn example, it should look right. And you know what? Actually, even before we do that, let's put in here a little bit more up and down on it, because I've kind of found that you know, depending on how far back you place the thing in the distance, you know, moving it by 100 might not, you know, make it that clear that it's moving that much. So we'll do 400 and 400. Oh, and we would also want to actually add the sprite to the scene. So, all right, to the player node. All right, so just put in here player sprite, and you know, we could offset this with some sort of initial, you know, position that's different exactly from just basically dead center on, you know, the main node itself. But we don't need to either. So let's just go ahead and let's try to build it and hope I actually see something this time. Okay, so sure enough, we are seeing these guys bounce up and down, and obviously the timing is offset from one another just based on when I tap, at different rates, and yes, kind of a frenetic video here, huh? So that's one very important thing to realize. Anytime that you want your anchor to be moving around, or the thing anchored to it to be moving around, you're gonna have to do that through a sprite within your main whatever it is. So, we could have just gone with an SK node here, but what the heck? SKSpriteNode. It's basically the same thing. It's just going to be a parent container for whatever is inside of it. So let's run back over here to our actual game scene, and let's take out this code from inside of here. Let's put it in its own function, and let's call this something like add anchor. Okay, so put that in, and then let's grab everything inside of the touches began statement. So we'll put that over to there, and of course we could pass parameters into this later on, based on kind of the state of the game, what exactly we're going to add, all sorts of options there. But one thing I just want to kind of prove is that these things that we have been adding, they are really part of our SK scene. So when we touch down, let's do this. Let's write for touch in touches. Then we'll write let location. This is going to equal touch. Location in self. And then what we'll do is write for node in nodes at location. So basically what we're going to do is this is going to return to us any node that is existing at that particular touch location. So what we can do is we can say something like if node is player. All right, so we can test if we touch down on the player class, right? And actually, let's just do this. Let's say print. This would be a good place to leave off the video. Touched a player. Else what we'll do is we'll go and add that anchor. Okay. Right. So basically, if you touch anywhere other than a player, it's going to add in another one of our apes. And let's see what happens. Actually, nothing will happen because without an existing node in here to touch, we've got a problem. So actually what we want to do is we just want to break this out of here. Let's put in here and do var touched player bool equals false. So then if that's still false, so if touched player, that still equals false after we run that statement. I don't have my thinking cap on today. Then we'll add in our anchor, just like forgetting to add the actual sprite to the scene. Rookie mistakes. It's only been programming like 20 years or so. And then what we want to do is, so if we've touched a player, then we switch this back to being, or switch it to true. So basically, then it should work. Okay, and here you have it. Touching those guys, obviously, if I touch them, it doesn't make a new one. But then if I touch outside of them, it will. And of course, you'll notice that even when I make a new one, so I touch over here in a second, right over there, it doesn't put one at that touch location. Because remember, that is all happening right down inside of here. So if I wanted to offset where that location is going to be, that goes back to what we talked about way at the first video. So that would be your X, and it seems like, so let's take our X for example. at 0, this is going to be just right in the middle, and then at -1, if it's more like it's right on the far left of the side, and then 1 is on the far right of the screen. And you can that's not your limit. So you can go put in here anything you want, really. But so far, that's kind of what I've noticed as the two kind of normal ranges within the outer limits of the screen width, and then obviously the Y is kind of the same thing. So anyway, just keep that in mind, that is always an option. But this is a good breaking point for right now.